Okay, so we're going to roll out the Linzer dough now. I will tell you, this is a very soft dough, and then the fact that it's got nuts in it makes it even softer. I'm just going to give it a little slight knead, not a lot, because I want it really cold when I'm trying to work it. So always make sure that you have a nice clean work surface. And then I'm going to put down my flour. Put a little flour on top. Make sure you keep it moving. If you feel it stick to that rolling pin or the table, more flour. And while I'm still at the point that it's thick enough and I can handle it, I'm going to pick it up and turn it over. Don't worry about making it round. I want to roll this out to probably about 1/4 of an inch. Someplace in between that 1/4 and an 1/8 is where you really want to do this. I'm going to take the bottom of my tart pan and I'm going to cut around it. I'm going to get rid of all that excess flour. Going to cut around it. And then I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to just kind of pull it over here because I'm going to knead it again. And I'm just going to take that tart pan and kind of slip it up underneath. I'm thinking I may go on and spray the edge of my tart pan. Because with that marmalade, I don't want it to stick. Should I spray the...
It'll be fine.
I can delete that out. Okay, so now that I have this all in my pan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread some marmalade across it, but I'm not going to take it all the way to the edges. And, you know, it just really depends on the size of your mold, depends on how much marmalade you're putting on it. Since I am using a 9-inch tart pan, I just, you know, chose the 20 scoop. And I'm going to need some more. You know, it's not like some of the other things that I keep telling you, paper thin on the marmalade. This one you want to be a little thicker with your marmalade. Don't go all the way to the edge. We want to have a good thickness on that marmalade. Then I'm going to take this dough that I've reserved over here. I'm going to kind of clear the edges. And I'm going to take this dough and I'm going to rope it out. Now, if you are using fresh or chopped almonds, good luck. Because what's going to happen as you are starting to roll this out, those almonds are going to kind of work against you and they're going to make things hard for you. So I want to just rope this out. Oops, my oven is now preheated. I'm going to rope this out and try to keep it even in diameter all the way across. You notice I keep coming back and working it all the way through. I'm not concentrating on one spot. And then I'm going to just kind of cut this and I'm going to lay it across the top. And I'm going to do that all the way across the tart itself. So I'm going to do this side and then come back to you. Okay, we're going to do the Linzer Torte. And the Linzer Torte actually in recorded history is one of the oldest cakes that is out there. The recipe that they found back in the late 1690s is one of the first recorded recipes that they have of it. So just give you a little bit of background. It comes from Linz, Austria. Also, it is traditionally done with either a red currant or a raspberry marmalade. It's a very spicy dough, and then they put the red currant or the raspberry marmalade. If you talk to somebody from Austria and you tell them raspberry marmalade, they're probably going to freak out and tell you that no, they don't put raspberry marmalade in it. It's always red currants, because red currants grow quite wild in northern Austria. So on to the dough now that you've had your history lesson for the day. So I have the, I'm only making half a recipe, and I've got 6 ounces of butter going into the bowl with the paddle. And then I have 3 ounces of sugar. I'm going to cream that together. Guys, no light and fluffy on this one. I'm going to take it to a paste. And I'm going to scrape the bowl. And then I'm going to add 3 egg yolks. This is a very rich dough because of the egg yolks, and it's also a very soft dough because of the egg yolks. So I'm going to put the egg yolks in there. And then while those are mixing a little bit, I've got my flour. I've got a 1.5 cups of flour. It ended up being just perfectly 7.5 ounces. And then I have my almond flour, and I use 3 ounces of almond flour for 3/4 cup. And then I have a 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. You don't want to get too crazy with those because they're both kind of overpowering spices. I'm going to mix this together. And this is nice and incorporated. Now you can grind your own almonds. I will tell you the dough gets really difficult to work with when you grind your own almonds. But it is a very tasty dough that way. Traditionally, they ground their own almonds. I'm going to mix this together. And the dough's a little dry. And so I'm going to add some ice cold water to it. It says between a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to take a tablespoon of water to it. No ice cubes, thank you very much. And with it running, I'm just going to add this. That's going to pull the dough together for me. And I'm going to be at the ready with the other one. And I'm probably going to add the half and stop right there. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a little bit of plastic wrap, refrigerate it, and then wish me luck on rolling it out. Okay, so I have now done a fake lattice on top of it. I'm going to kind of cut the edges off just a little bit. That way they're not extended onto the border. Then I'm going to take a little bit of egg wash. And I'm going to come all the way around. Try not to touch your pan. That was part of the reason why I sprayed my pan. I'm going to come all the way around. And then what I've done is I've roped out the remainder of my dough. And so then I've cut myself probably about 3/4 to an inch of length. Kind of rounded it out just a little bit. You don't have to drive yourself crazy. Just, you know, nice little rounded bit. And we're going to go around the entire outside of it. And I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Okay, so now we're all the way around with the little balls. I'm just going to take my finger and give it a little indentation. All the way around. And then I'm going to come back through, and in that little indentation, whoops, that one looks like. Once I'm all the way around, in that little indentation, I'm going to take a little bit more marmalade in a piping bag, and I'm just going to fill that indentation up. And when I get all the way around, we're ready to go in the oven. Make sure that when you go in the oven that you put this on a sheet pan, because this is a false bottom pan and we don't want any accidents. I'm going to bake this at 350, and I will look at it again in about 20 minutes and see whether or not, how much more time I think I need. But that's what's going in the oven, guys.